From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Ticats Today with Louie Butko.
Yes, it is Ticats Today for a Thursday, October the 20th, 2022. Thanks for checking us out on the Ticats Audio Network. Louie Butko here with you as the Ticats were on the field briefly today for their final walkthrough ahead of tomorrow's huge East Division clash with the Ottawa Redblacks, their final home game of the season. Coming up on today's show, we'll hear from Coach O, as we normally do here on Ticats Today. We'll hear from Dane Evans, and we'll hear from Jovan Santos-Knox as well. Caught up with them after practice today, and as always, you can go to full scrums at ticats.ca. And also coming up on today's show, we'll check in with the man who will be on the sidelines for the CFL on TSN for tomorrow's broadcast. That, of course, Matthew Scianitti. So looking forward to chatting with Matt. Hey, Ticats fans, enter for a chance to win 4 tickets to Sunday's Forge FC semifinal match at Tim Hortons Field, plus a pre-match meet and greet with Ticats players. Go to ticats.ca/forge contest to enter. You can win 4 club-level tickets to Sunday's match and an exclusive meet and greet with Tunde Adeleke, Malik Carney, Mason Bennett, and Lawrence Woods III. Contest closes at midnight Friday. Go to ticats.ca/forge contest to enter now. And as always, best of luck to the boys in orange and gray who are playing in that big semifinal on Sunday. Best of luck to the Ticats. As mentioned, a huge East Division matchup. You already know the details. Ticats got to win one and get a Saskatchewan loss, or win both to make the playoffs. We have not been discussing what would happen if the Ticats lost both these games against the Redblacks, because we don't want to think about that. Because why would we want to go into a negative space like that? There's no point. We're going to stay positive, because that's what we do here on Ticats Today. All right, let's take a look at the depth chart, how the Ticats will line up against the Redblacks tomorrow night at Tim Hortons Field. Let's start on the offensive line. It is Tyrone Riley at left tackle, Brandon Revenberg at left guard, Beard at center, Coulter Woodmansey at right guard, and Colin Kelly at right tackle. Again, some consistency of the offensive line, always nice to see. Dane Evans is the starting quarterback. You already knew that. Don Jackson getting the start at running back, and you'll hear the reason why from Coach, but Wes Hill is placed on the 1-game injured list with a quad injury, so Don Jackson back in the starting lineup. He'll be backed up by Sean Thomas Erlington. Felix Garang-Gauthier is the fullback, and at wide receiver, you got Stephen Dunbar Jr. out wide, Lamar Durant out wide as well, and at slot, Tim White. Wait, don't call him Tim, call him Himothy White at slot, as well as Tyler Ternowski and Anthony Johnson. On the D-line, you got Malik Carney starting at the defensive end, Micah Johnson back in the lineup following the birth of his child at nose tackle. Ted Laurent is the starting defensive tackle, and Julian Houser is at the defensive end position. At linebacker, it's Simone Lawrence, Jovan Santos-Knox, and Cam Kelly. And no changes in the secondaries. It's Jamal Roll, Carriel Brooks, Tunde Adeleke, Richard Leonard coming off being named a CFL top performer, and Dane Evans at the corner. Seth Small will handle the kicking duties. Mike Domagala will handle the kickoffs and punting. Gordon White's the long snapper, and Lawrence Woods III will handle the kick return and punt return responsibilities. All right, that's how the Ticats will line up. For more on the move for Donnie J in there over Wes Hills, here's what Coach O had to say after practice today.
Yeah, well, Wes is just banged up. He had a quad contusion, and it's just kind of slow to heal. So, it's why we have 2 running backs around. We feel like we have 2 starters, and Don, he did a great job for us. And I think it's for the past couple of years we've rotated a couple backs in there, and so Don will be up, and he'll do a great job for us. To be honest with you, it wasn't really addressed with the football team, to be honest, because these guys have no bearing on what's happened the past 7, 8, however many years ago. It was the next game, and in order to control our own destiny and not look at other scores, we had to handle our business there. And so I was super proud of everybody, and we went out there and found a way to win. It's a tough environment to play in. They're not a good football team. They're a great football team. And we came out with a win. But past that, we haven't even really looked behind us. We're totally moving forward, and what it's enabled us is an opportunity to finally can actually take control of our own situation. Yeah, I think you hit it on the head right there, Tim. It's they're a team that's in a little bit of transition, but the players have remained relatively the same. They've played hard all year from when looking on tape. But past that, we don't know what they're going to do, and their mindset of the people that are running the organization with Bob, at the helm right now. So it does bring us right back to your comment, and that is focusing on ourselves. So that really hasn't been a challenge. We're always going to prepare for our opponents the best way we know how, but trying to guess what they may do and what it might look like, it really detracts from our own thought process and handling our own business. So from that standpoint, it has been tough. And also we're on a short week with the travel back, so we'll be ready to go. Well, I think our bond is stronger. We have a better understanding of who we are, and we've just been through more. I think we're battle tested a little bit. We went through more. That was early in the year. Obviously, it came down to the last game, and we were able to find a way to win that game. But I just think, and then we have a little bit different personnel. I think our identity is a little bit different. There's people slotted in. It will look a little bit different than we did at that time. So I would just say, obviously, we've gained the obvious thing, and that's more experience. But I think our bond is stronger, and there's more trust.
That is the head coach and president of football ops, Orlando Steinauer, as he spoke after practice today. This Friday, that's tomorrow, it's the last home game of the regular season. It's also Fan Appreciation Night. Enter the stadium by 6:30, and you could win great prizing throughout the game, including game-worn Hammer jerseys and autographed McManus and Flutie jerseys. Ticats and Redblacks this Friday night. The Made in the Hammer game returns. Let's hear from Dane Evans. Here's what he had to say after walkthrough today.
To answer the first part of your question, I think I'm completely different. At the beginning of the year, I had a lot of things going on personally in my life that was kind of like affecting football and stuff in positive and negative ways. I feel like I've grown a lot since then. I feel like that was honestly like 2 seasons ago almost, And what I expect from them is what I've seen a lot from them lately. I know they have some change-ups on their defense with who they're starting this week and stuff, and we're prepared for it. I've seen a defense that's really aggressive. They like to get after the quarterback, a secondary that's very opportunistic, and I expect to see that tomorrow. Yeah, it's been a really long, weird season. I think we learned a lot about ourselves as a team during those losses. I wish we would have learned about them while we were winning, like everybody does. But what I'm the most proud of with this team is we haven't arrived yet, and I don't think anybody thinks we have. But I think we learned a lot of lessons in those losses, and we're not making the same mistakes twice, right? And I think that's kind of when we switched what we've been doing lately. And now we're just honestly just playing free and just having fun and letting the result take care of itself. And I think that's kind of taken a lot of pressure off of everybody. You know what I mean? It's huge because we get to keep the same mindset we had the previous weeks. We really don't have to watch any other CFL games, right? We just got to take care of our business and win and just keep winning. And that's honestly the best position, one of the best positions you can be in, especially as a competitor, where nothing else this weekend matters. What happens in the CFL, it just happens. It doesn't affect us as long as we win. So we are in a very good position.
That is Dane Evans as he spoke to the media after practice today. And now one more piece of audio to get to. And as always, you can go to fullscrums at ticats.ca. Here's what Jovan Santos-Knox, who passed the 100 tackle mark last game. Here's what he had to say after practice when he was asked about that mark.
It's a cool individual accomplishment, but we still have a lot of stuff to take care of on the team point. So I'll celebrate that in the off season, but right now it's just focused and locked in on making the playoffs. If we get in the playoffs, then that doesn't matter, club record or not. That's the most important thing. Yeah. They're a very talented football team. I think their record doesn't really show the type of talent they have on that team. It's a lot of new guys, first-year guys, guys we know from the other side. So we just expect their best football. They've played Montreal really, really tough those last 2 weeks. So we know they're going to give us our all, and they're fighting too. So they're still in it. So. It depends on who you ask, because I want these playoffs, man. So I'll do anything for them. But I think they're in a position where expect everything. You know what I mean? Because they're playing for their season as well. So fakes, anything, gadget plays, things. Expect they're gonna come out swinging and give you their best. So yeah. Yeah, in this game, that's everything. You just want to be able to control your destiny, your fate, like you said. it's kind of hard depending on other teams and, other teams to, help you get into a position that you want to get into. So for us to take control last week was huge. And, I just think it's something we just got to ride the wave and ride the momentum and keep it going. Yeah, very important. I think, this is our home playoff game. That's how we look at it. So our fans, we want you to know this is going to be a playoff game for you guys. Come out, be loud as if it's a playoff atmosphere because we're playing as if it's playoff football.
So there you go. Make some noise tomorrow night. Jovan Santos-Knox wants you to. That's how he is describing it. A playoff game. This is what the Ticats are looking. This is their last home game of the regular season. It's the last home game of the season. There's no way in which they could possibly play a home playoff game. So last time we'll get to see the Ticats in black and gold at Tim Hortons Field this season. All right, for more on tomorrow's game, very pleased to be joined by the man who will be between the benches on the sidelines for the CFL and TSN. That, of course, is the CFL and TSN's Matthew Scianitti. And Matt, I want to continue on something we talked about with Suter earlier this week. When we were talking about Dane Evans, because I go back to that shot after Calgary scored that touchdown late. Dane's got his helmet on, looked so focused. Maybe an under talked about performance on that final drive just because of the two amazing catches by Tim White. But if that's the Dane Evans the Ticats get the rest of the way, they're in pretty good shape.
Wherever Hamilton goes from here, Louie, we're all going to remember 1 minute and 1 minute and 3 seconds to go. Ticats after a procedure penalty, or was it 1st and 15? And Dane Evans hits a 46-yard bomb to Timothy White, or Himothy White, as we have to call him now. But I think what you saw in that moment, not only throughout a game in which the Ticats won in Calgary for the first time in 18 years, but in that crucial moment, maybe I don't know if it's too early to call it a potential season-defining moment, but to watch not only Dane Evans execute, to see his offensive line, an offensive line that has been full of injuries and much maligned throughout the season, and really going into last season and in the Grey Cup before that, to see it all come together, and to see Tim White continue his run of being the guy this year. But more importantly, see Dane Evans step up in that moment. To go back to your original question, I think it really just shows that I believe, as Orlando Steinauer said on the Ticats radio network, what did he say? I wrote it down here. We told you, stay with us now. The Ticats aren't done with, and Dane Evans is proving yet again, as he did. Let's go back to the East Final when he came on and helped to come back against the Argos at BMO Field. In the big moments, Dane Evans can play big football.
Yeah, and you mentioned Tim White, 1,000 yards a season a couple of weeks ago. Now he's at 1,152, 8 touchdowns. I'm trying to think of a comparable of somebody like Tim White we've seen in Hamilton, since you and I have been covering this team, last 10 years. Nobody really jumps off the page. Tim White is really his own guy, and man, is that good for the Ticats?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent point. Every major 1,000-yard receiver Hamilton has had in the last 10 years has been his own man. Andy Fantus, I don't think there aren't many who have as large hands as Andy Fantus. Luke Tasker. I don't think there's been a tougher receiver that I have seen in what he was willing to do to move the sticks. Even going to Braylon Addison, he was his own kind of spark plug, and we know Brandon Banks and what he's done. And I think that's been the real wealth of talent that the Ticats have been able to accumulate on offense. And their two big weapons this year, being Stephen Dunbar and Tim White, are individuals in their own right. In their own right, but the one thing that is so critical that they both offer, especially in that game against Calgary, is they were willing to pay the price to make the play. And that you can trace it back to Luke Tasker in this modern generation. That is what Ticat receivers are expected to do. It's much like the defensive line, much like the linebackers, much like the quarterbacks. I mean, everything is hard earned when you put on the black and gold. And to see Tim White take a shot, not only in the 46-yarder, but on the 7-yard touchdown pass as well, in what looked like double coverage. He was willing to go up and make a play, and certainly that means Dane Evans trusts him to make that play in that situation. But we're looking at a receiver. Remember, Tim White is a triple jump was a triple jump athlete in college, so he has no problem using all of those different skill sets to make a play. But this season for him has been definitely special, and the Ticats are going to definitely go back to the well with him over and over again these next 2 weeks, because even though, the Redblacks seem to be trending in the wrong direction, irrespective of the little jolt that Bob Dice has given them, you can tell has given them in the way they've played the last couple of weeks. This is still a couple of big games, and Tim White is going to be called upon.
There was a clip that Uninterrupted Canada put out yesterday ahead of the QEW rivalries, the QEW series that's coming to TSN this fall. And it was about Coach O, and it was Dylan Wynn and Matthew Schiltz talking about how much Coach inspires, what a leader he is, what a natural leader. We've seen, you and I know we've been fortunate enough to be up close, but can you just put it into perspective from all the teams that you've covered, different sports you've covered, but just how much respect Coach O has through the good times and the bad in that Ticats locker room?
I think I have to go back to a story that Micah Johnson told me a couple of weeks ago, in which he said that when the Ticats were struggling earlier this season, that he felt it was incumbent upon the players to go to the coaches and apologize. He has said, and this is Micah Johnson, who had maybe one of the greatest seasons any defensive lineman has ever had in 2018, who was one of the high-priced pieces in the CFL, whether going to BC or Saskatchewan for a couple of seasons, and he has eminent experience, and yet he looks at Orlando Steinauer and says, this guy is teaching me something new, not just about what it means to be a football player, but what it means to be a man. And when you look at what the Ticats and their culture has tried to create since they've moved to Tim Hortons Field, I think they've tried to change. There are always pillars on what it means to be a Ticat. We certainly saw it when Danny McManus was honored last home game. But the truth of the matter is, when you look at what Orlando Steinauer has tried to build, even in his time as a defensive coordinator back in 2014, he has tried to build this sense of accountability amongst his players. Listen, if we're here, we're committing to each other for 6, 7, 8 months. We're away from our families. Then we're all going to be in this together. We're going to earn everything together. We're going to succeed and suffer and everything in between together. And there's always, as Micah Johnson was saying, there's always a quote, or there's always some kind of perspective that Orlando Steinauer is willing to offer his players, and that every one of his coaches believes in, certainly tries to go ahead and teach and coach in their own way. But the messaging is always central, and it always comes from Orlando Steinauer, and he's the first one to be held accountable in the good times. He defers to his players, but in the bad times, I remember watching him after they lost to Winnipeg in the Grey Cup in Hamilton, as heartbreaking as it was. The guy who was on the field making sure all his players got off and were okay was Orlando Steinauer, and that speaks to a guy who played under Rich Stubler, who played under Ron Lancaster, who played under Mike Pinball Clemens. I mean, this is a guy who is a student of the game, a student of the CFL game, and has always tried to impart lessons onto his players. And to see big Micah Johnson telling me that he wants to be a coach not dissimilar to Orlando Steinauer just tells you the legacy Orlando Steinauer is building.
Matthew, do you get the sense that the rest of the league is on notice after the Ticats' recent stretch? 3 wins in 4 games. One of those a very convincing win over a full Winnipeg Blue Bombers team. The come from behind win in Calgary. Is the rest of the league on notice that the Ticats, if they get into the playoffs, might make some noise?
The truth is this: the Toronto Argonauts went into this season saying that Hamilton was the team to beat. Ottawa knew that. Montreal knew that. And even though the Ticats have not probably played up to their own expectations, their own lofty expectations, being back-to-back Grey Cup participants, the truth of the matter is, even though if they get into the playoffs, they might not have a game in Hamilton. Well, they won't have a game in Hamilton. It really is true that the East still goes through Hamilton. And if you are Montreal or Toronto, I doubt you want to see Hamilton coming, because knowing the way they've played and to watch the way they played, they've won in different ways. If you really think about it, when they beat Winnipeg, they blew the doors off, and Dane Evans threw 5 touchdown passes. When they beat the Rough Riders, it was through their defensive line and the running game. And when they beat Calgary, it was an incredible comeback inside, 65 seconds. So all told, this team is showing you not only can we win when it counts, but we can win in different ways. And even though Trevor Harris is excellent, especially towards the end of the season and in the first round of the playoffs when he gets a real momentum building, and the Argos have been scrappy and clawing and winning in their own different kinds of ways, the Hamilton Ticats are back-to-back East champions, and they will relish the opportunity to go into anywhere, not play spoiler, but reassert themselves again in the East.
Should be a fun final few weeks of the regular season. Matthew, enjoy the game tomorrow. Should be great weather. I know that the Inspector Gadget jacket has been retired, but you won't even need it tomorrow because it should be so beautiful at Tim Hortons Field.
Can't wait. See you then, Louie.
My thanks to Matthew Scianitti from the CFL on TSN for joining me today. And my thanks to you as well, because we could not do the show without your support. Make sure you like and subscribe so you never miss an episode of this show or any of the other great shows on the Ticats Audio Network, including a brand new episode of Ticats This Week with RJ Broadhead and Luke Tasker dropping today, right here on the Ticats Audio Network. Hey, Ticats fans, be sure to be listening for the Sandman Hotel's code word during the game this Friday night for Sandman Hotel's Listen to Win contest. Enter on ticats.ca/Sandman for your chance to win 2 free nights at any Sandman Hotel in Canada. So be listening to the game on Friday. We will be on the air with the pregame starting at 6:30, 7:30 kickoff with RJ and Luke. Hope you'll join us there, and ticats.ca/tickets. As there are very limited left, so you want to go get your ticket now. See the Ticats one more time at Tim Hortons Field this season. That'll do it for us today. We are back on Monday recapping the hopefully big Ticats win, and hopefully you'll join us there then right here on the Ticats Audio Network. I'm Louie Butko, hoping you have a great day, and go Cats.
Ticats Today can be heard every weekday, and we would like to hear from you. Email us at gameday@ticats.ca. Have a question or an opinion? We want to hear it. That's gameday@ticats.ca. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.